Have you ever looked around at other people in leadership and thought, they just seem so much more confident than I am? A lot of high performing women believe confidence is the thing standing between them and their next promotion. But what if confidence isn't actually the starting point? What if the real issue is that you've spent years overlooking your own evidence of impact? In today's episode, we're talking about why confidence is built through clarity, not personality, and the shift that changes how women see themselves professionally. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're feeling tired in a way rest alone won't fix, or successful on paper but unsure what's next, you're not broken. You're not alone. I'm Shannon, a promotion and compensation coach, and this space is about helping women grow their careers with clarity, confidence, and sustainability, not pressure or hustle. Take a breath, settle in, and let's talk about what's really going on beneath the surface. Hello, welcome to the show. I want to start today with something a woman said during a coaching session that I think so many high performing women quietly believe. She looked at me and said, I think I just need more confidence. And the way she said it made confidence sound almost mysterious. Like it was this thing other people naturally had, and she somehow had missed out on it. Like everyone else had been handed a handbook she never received. Now, what was interesting was that while she was saying this, she had already spent the last 20 minutes describing incredibly high level work she had been doing inside her organization. She was leading projects, improving systems, managing cross functional communication, solving problems leadership didn't even fully see yet. People trusted her constantly. Coworkers came to her for answers. Her manager relied on her heavily. From the outside, she looked incredibly capable, but internally, she felt unsure of herself. She also admitted something that I think many women experience but could rarely say out loud. She said, I look around at other people in leadership and they just seem so much more confident than I am. And what's interesting is that from the outside, many of those people probably looked at her and assumed she was confident too. But internally, she was constantly comparing herself to people who had appeared more polished, more certain, more authoritative, more ready. And every comparison became more evidence that she somehow wasn't there yet. That comparison spiral becomes emotionally exhausting over time. Because no matter how much she accomplished, her brain kept moving the finish line. And I think this disconnect exists for a lot of women because many high performing women assume confidence is supposed to come first. Like, first you become confident, then you speak up, then you advocate for yourself, then you pursue leadership opportunities. But for many women, confidence actually comes after they fully recognize the value they already create. And that can change everything because now confidence is no longer about personality, it's about evidence. I asked her something during our conversation that I completely shifted the direction of the coaching session. I said, what evidence are you currently using to evaluate your own value? And she just stared at me for a second because she had never thought about confidence that way before. Most women evaluate themselves emotionally. Do I feel confident? Do I feel ready? Do I feel qualified enough? But feelings fluctuate constantly. Evidence is different. Evidence is concrete. It says, I solved that problem. I improved that process. I led that initiative. I created measurable impact. I helped produce meaningful results. And what became clear very quickly was that she had spent years creating evidence while emotionally dismissing it the entire time. Every accomplishment got minimized, every win got brushed aside, every compliment got redirected. So internally, she never fully absorbed the reality of how capable she actually was. This is something I see constantly with high performing women. Women who are objectively doing leadership level work while privately questioning whether they're good enough for leadership. That disconnect becomes emotionally exhausting because imagine constantly producing results while simultaneously doubting your own value. Part of you knows you're capable, another part keeps whispering, but what if I'm not ready yet? And often that uncertainty has very little to do with actual capability. It has much more to do with the fact that women are rarely taught to track, acknowledge, or articulate their own impact clearly. I remember another woman telling me, I never feel like I've done enough. Now, what's fascinating is that when she said this, she had improved efficiency on her team, trained new employees, stepped into leadership gaps, improved communication systems, managed major responsibilities during organization change. But because she immediately moved on to the next thing every time she accomplished something, her brain never fully registered the evidence of her growth. And I think many achievers do this automatically, especially high performing women. High achievers are especially vulnerable to this pattern because they adapt to new levels of responsibility incredibly quickly. What felt impossible 6 months ago, suddenly it just feels normal. So instead of celebrating growth, they normalize it. Then immediately focus on the next thing, the next gap, the next goal, the next thing that they haven't mastered yet. I see this constantly. Women will casually describe doing something incredibly strategic, and in that same breath, talk about themselves like they're still behind somehow. That disconnect, it's huge. Because if your brain only focuses on gaps, you never emotionally absorb your growth. And over time, that creates a really painful cycle. Because if your brain constantly dismisses evidence, confidence never has anything solid to build from. This also explains why many women feel deeply uncomfortable during promotion conversations. When someone asks, tell me about your impact, their mind goes blank. Not because they haven't contributed, but because they've spent years emotionally disconnecting from their accomplishments. They haven't practiced holding on to evidence. I remember one woman telling me that she dreaded performance reviews for this exact reason. Not because she was underperforming, but because the second someone asked, tell me about your accomplishments this year, her brain would completely freeze. Meanwhile, if you asked her coworkers about her impact, they could have listed example after example after example immediately. And that contrast, it matters. Many women are carrying around years of invisible evidence, and they've never organized it mentally in a way that supports confidence. So when important conversations happen, promotions, raises, interviews, or even leadership opportunities, they rely on memory instead of evidence. And memory is emotional. Evidence is grounding. And this shows up in tiny moments all the time, too. A woman receives positive feedback and immediately thinks, well, I probably could have done it better. Or leadership compliments her work and she responds with, oh, just doing my job. Or what happens when she achieves something major and instantly raises the bar again before allowing herself to even acknowledge the win? That constant moving of the goalposts makes confidence feel permanently out of reach because no achievement ever feels like enough. There's another piece of this conversation that matters too. A lot of women think confident people never doubt themselves. That is rarely true. Most leadership growth happens while people still feel uncertain. The difference is that confident people are often willing to trust evidence more than emotion because emotions are temporary. Evidence accumulates. And once women begin collecting evidence intentionally, something starts shifting internally. They begin seeing patterns they missed before. It could be patterns like people consistently relying on them, problems they've repeatedly solved, outcomes that they've consistently create, leadership behaviors they're already demonstrating naturally. And over time, those patterns become harder to dismiss. This is one of the biggest shifts women experience inside the 5% promotion method. Women stop waiting to magically feel confident enough before advocating for themselves professionally. Instead, they start building confidence through documented evidence of impact. And that changes the emotional experience completely. Because now confidence is no longer built on perfection, personality, fearlessness, or constant certainty. It's built on clarity. And this is the part many women describe as surprisingly emotional. Because when women finally start documenting their impact consistently, they often realize for the first time just how much they've been carrying, how many problems they've solved, how many people rely on them, how much leadership they're already demonstrating naturally. Sometimes women look back through their evidence document and think, wow, I have really grown. Because many women have spent years looking at themselves through the lens of insufficiency. They're always focused on what's missing, what they haven't mastered, where they still feel uncertain. But evidence interrupts that pattern. It creates a more truthful picture. And I think many women are waiting to feel confident before they finally speak up or advocate for themselves, pursue leadership opportunities, or even ask for higher compensation, because confidence is often built through action, but not before it. And once women start seeing concrete evidence of their value, they stop needing constant external reassurance to believe they belong in bigger rooms. The women I see advance most consistently are not always the women with the loudest personalities. They're the women who've learned how to stop dismissing their own value. Women who stopped waiting to magically feel confident and started paying attention to the evidence that they had been there all along. And that shift changes their careers. Because women can clearly see their own impact, it becomes much easier for leadership to see it too. So before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with something small you can practice this week. Your small promotion move for this week is to start an evidence of impact document. Every week, write down problems you solved, wins you created, positive feedback you received, processes you improved, moments where your leadership made a difference. Not for your ego, but for clarity. Because confidence grows much faster when your brain has evidence to stand on. And over time, you'll start realizing something important. You probably needed less self-doubt and more proof of how valuable you already are. All right, I'll see you next time. If today's episode sparked something for you, a question, an idea, or a realization, don't ignore it. I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your current role, your goals, and how to position you for your next promotion or raise without burning out or overworking. You can book that call using the link in the description. And if this episode helped you, sharing it or leaving a quick review makes a bigger difference than you know. Until next time, keep showing your value clearly. You've earned it.